left his sidearm sitting there thinking Jeff was asleep. He went in, took the gun, and killed himself.
Wow.
And
Jesus.
it wasn't until after I had gone through cancer a couple of times that I started to feel numb. And I mentioned that to my oncologist, and he said, "Oh, that's depression." There's
you have warriors that kill themselves rather than be captured.
Right.
That aspect. Those things, those two are things that I think universally everybody accepts. That should never happen. Somebody that young should never get to that point, something that dark and that low. At the same time, if you're a friend of somebody, it's your duty to preserve that life, because people are impulsive.
Like, to understand the gravity of depression, I beat cancer twice, and depression was what nearly took me out.
Okay, welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Eric Rosenblatt.
I'm Casey Rochford.
Yeah, and I just want to mention at the beginning of the episode that all of our long videos have one of our songs at the end. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah, they're all original, and they're all pretty freaking cool, if I don't say so myself. But, I wrote half of them, so,
A little bit of bias there, but that's okay. So what's on your mind today? What do you want to talk about?
Well, my hair is getting really long. I haven't shaved in days. No, nobody wants to hear about that. Well, there's kind of an anniversary coming up that's got me thinking a little bit. One of my best friends in high school, his name was Jeff. He committed suicide at the age of 19, and that was 19 years ago this July.
Oh, wow.
So his entire lifetime has passed by now, and I still think about him all the time. Like, it never really, the scar never really went away on that one.
You guys were pretty close, right?
Yeah, even though I only knew him like a couple of years, in the grand scheme of things, I've known you 20 years, I've known other people for 30 or more. He made a real impact in just a few years, and I didn't know what to do at that age, it's not evident, you get into this disbelief zone where you're like, no, it doesn't mean it. This isn't real. This is just a game. He had that kind of macabre humor. So it was really hard to tell, if he was being serious or not.
So there were indications beforehand, he.
Oh yeah, he flat out said, "I'm gonna kill myself," and we're like, "Really?" And he was like,
"Wow."
He had it planned out, the kind of timeline that he wanted to do it. It sounded so staged that it you couldn't make this shit up. It was is this for real? He was like, yeah, I don't want to make a mess, so I'm going to inject oxygen into my veins or something. And
wow.
We're like, okay. And then one day, we were like, hey, where's Jeff? And we couldn't find him. And so we went to his house, and he comes to the door, he's looking all disheveled, like he hasn't showered in a couple of days or something. And he showed us track marks on his arm. And he was like, I tried it, but it didn't work. And and that was kind of the moment where we were like, oh, something is going on here. And
Yeah,
then
it's like
he started giving away his stuff. Like he was doling it out to all of his friends. Like, and we were like, we were still in denial. Even after that, we were like, this is one of his complicated like jokes. He knows we're gonna give his stuff back if he asks for it. Like this is all too weird. But even still, we went to his parents. Like I went and distracted Jeff, and Aaron went and talked to his parents, and they like put away all their guns in a gun safe and stuff. And I know they feel a lot of guilt and stuff, and we can talk more about that. But ultimately, what happened is his dad worked graveyard, ran a hotel or a motel or something, so he carried a sidearm.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got home, he undressed to get in the shower, left his sidearm sitting there, thinking Jeff was asleep. He went in, took the gun, and killed himself.
Wow.
And
Jesus.
yeah.
Whoa.
His parents ended up divorcing, selling the house. Like it tore up the family.
Well, yeah, I could see why. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, youngest son, and commits suicide just after his 19th birthday.
Wow, man.
Shit.
What? So, do you know why? What were the reasons that did he ever explain it?
He did leave a suicide note for everyone, like tailor fit to each of his friends. And a lot of it was talking about this numbness that he had, kind of an indifference to the world. And he felt like he was just on autopilot, waking up for no particular reason, going about his day, not feeling any particular motivation. And it's a real shame, because I looked at that note for years and I thought, wow, this is really weird. Jeff wasn't depressed. He was just feeling numb. And, it wasn't until after I had gone through cancer a couple of times that I started to feel numb. And I mentioned that to my oncologist, and he said, oh, that's depression. And I was like, really? Numbness is like not feeling anything is depression? I thought it had to be sadness or something. And he was like, no, numbness is depression. Put me on antidepressants. It kind of fixed stuff. I made the mistake of like going on and off them when I thought I was doing well, and I really shouldn't have done that. For reasons I'll get into later. But I don't know, like in a long introductory way, I guess I'm saying we should probably talk about the issue of suicide.
Yeah, we should. Wow, that's just so crazy to be in that state of mind at that age. Like that's the kind
really
of thing.
sad.
Yeah, I would expect somebody that's in their 70s maybe to hit that kind of level of numbness or something, like you've been there, done that, and life has no meaning or something. But at 19,
yeah. And I tried to reason with him, because he was a brilliant guy. It's such a waste. But he was also an atheist, and I was like, if you're an atheist, this is all you get, right? Like, when you're gone, lights turn out. That's it. Like, if that's what you believe, that's what you're expecting. So why is it you want to end this so early? But he just found ways to like reason through it and tried to find some logic. I don't remember all the stuff he said exactly, but because it was a lifetime ago, literally.
Yeah. His lifetime. Yeah.
It really struck a blow.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think everybody's kind of got some connection to suicide. I think it's one of those things that's way too prevalent. Like everybody kind of knows somebody, right? Like,
Yeah, well, and I would almost venture to guess that every person has at some point in time at least entertained the idea, for one reason or another.
yeah,
I don't think that's something that's exclusive to just a small handful of people. I think it's a something everybody experiences at some point in their life. Um,
hmm,
but to carry it out, that's a big deal. I mean, that takes a certain level of, you have to reach a certain level to be able to do that, I think.
yeah. And you know, it gave me a really unique perspective on suicide because I I saw that he had clearly thought really hard about it. I saw that he wasn't concerned with what could happen after, if there was an afterlife, or if that was just it. Like none of that scared him. Um, Nothing scared him. Like
Hmm.
this was, like July, 4th of July, firework like kind of shot off and exploded like right next to his head. He didn't even flinch. Like
Wow.
like that's the state of mind he was in. And I mean, I kind of understand it. And for years I was kind of like, well, is suicide really like as bad a thing as society makes it out to be? And that sounds really terrible to say, I know.
No, I agree. On that. I think it's got a stigma that's undeserved.
Yeah, because I mean,
There's just,
like, there's more than one flavor of suicide, right?
yeah,
You've got altruism, um, like jump on a grenade to save your buddies, that sort of
sure.
thing. There's
You have warriors that kill themselves rather than be captured.
right,
That
yeah,
aspect, those things, those two are things that I think universally everybody accepts. But then
hmm,
they start to get a little bit weird when it comes down to you're going through something too big to deal with, that
yeah,
you're not equipped to deal with, or maybe what about assisted suicide? You have a terminal illness, you're going to die anyway. Maybe you want to die when you're uh, not completely destroyed by the disease, and
yeah,
and people still have a problem with that too.
yeah. I remember, being a kid when the whole Kevorkian thing was going down, and I remember my parents were like, "Oh, this is such a terrible thing," and I remember thinking, "Why?"
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, what's so bad about like people who are suffering wanting to end the suffering? Like we euthanize our pets out of
Sure.
mercy. Why shouldn't we do the same for the humans that we love?
Exactly. And okay, it's different if you kill a loved one because they're going through something, but if they decide they want to do it, I think it's on them. That's their choice, especially if there's no other alternative. If you're going to die no matter what and you're just going to keep suffering, why shouldn't you be able to end that? It's your life, right? It's
Yeah,
it's very selfish to say, well, no, we want you to stay alive until you die horribly after having suffered over and over and over again. I don't see the benefit in that. Like the person who's suffering, it's their life to decide whether they want to end it or not. And I have a
yeah,
huge problem with restrictions on that. In
yeah.
fact, I think it's also kind of ridiculous that suicide is illegal
I was
in
just gonna say
in most
that. Like,
places. Yeah.
like
How does that?
if you attempt suicide, you're probably gonna go to jail if you
Yeah.
fail it. Like, oh
But
well, you tried to kill yourself. That's attempted murder right there. Like,
yeah, yeah. The thing is, like, but what if you succeed? Are they going to incarcerate your corpse?
death
But
tax.
and it does go back to a lot of my philosophy on self ownership. Like, who owns you? If you own yourself, then you can decide whether you want your life to continue or not. Now, it's not to say, like, absolutely, if somebody's going through something really terrible, all the people around them should do everything they can to help them decide otherwise, because I don't think it's the right way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in some situations.
This is probably a good time to mention like the National Suicide Hotline.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's something like I've got my local crisis hotline saved as a favorite in my phone. Like it's like on the top of my contacts. It's that important to me. And I think that's actually like not just the people around the person having suicidal thoughts, because sometimes they mask it. Like the actual person having the suicidal thoughts needs to be aware that there is help available, because oftentimes they don't really want to. They just feel like it's the only option left.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that a lot of people that kill themselves don't really. Yeah, okay. I completely agree with that sentiment. I can't reconfigure that into a different statement. I think that was pretty perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I think it's really important to not dismiss people when they exhibit those things, but maybe not go overboard.
I saw something on the internet just today, I think, where it was like it had like two lists, suicide and suicidal. And with suicide, it was like it was listing attributes. Like with suicide, like everyone is sad when it happens. With suicidal, everyone thinks you're just attention seeking. So like there's this stark difference in the way people are treated when they say, hey, I feel like killing myself, versus when they've actually done it and it's too late to do anything about it.
Well, yeah, and I think if somebody is suicidal, I think society in general has a tendency to treat them poorly, to stigmatize it, that, oh yeah, you're just trying to get attention, things like that. But when somebody's reached that point, they may actually carry it out, and that should be taken seriously, I think. And like having a conversation with people and not dismissing them, I think that's really important. Yes, definitely call that hotline. I don't know a lot about it, but I know there's some good people there that can.
Yeah, it's I've never actually called one of those numbers, but it would have been a good thing for me to have, because well, let me start by saying, when I wrote my book about beating cancer,
mm-hmm.
I had a whole chapter on suicide, because people would come up to me and say, like, did you ever think about just ending it all? And I would ponder for a second. I was like, actually, no, I didn't. Even though I was going through something really difficult, I feel like that just kind of gave me focus. And, I wasn't thinking about like wanting to end it or anything. I was just thinking about barreling through it.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that stance. I wasn't saying that suicide is like not something that shouldn't be a choice or anything, but I was saying like, oh, hey, I've got this philosophy where like I don't think suicide ever makes sense because blah blah blah. And then my mindset changed on that a few years later. And just a couple of years ago, I went camping with some friends, and I was a little inebriated, but I was also like in this very depressive state, and it was all based around loneliness. Like, I lived alone. I lived very far from all my friends. I worked alone a lot of the time. I was very lonely. Let's just put it that way. And it was like eating at me. And I kind of made a pass at a girl that I was kind of like a close friend with, and it didn't go over well. And all that loneliness combined with a little rejection, and you throw the inebriation on top of it. And suddenly I was trying to tie a noose with my belt, which luckily I'm a skinny guy, and I don't think there was enough slack in a belt that fits me.
Yeah, you're
yeah,
the holes don't go that far.
yeah, and there's a long story to it, but my friend that I had made a pass at was like an amazing person through all of that. Like, she found me like mid attempt and like said all the right things and did all the right things, like a pro. And
nice.
And I checked myself into a mental hospital for a week.
Yeah, and that's the right thing to do. And let me just say, I'm glad you did not succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personally, yeah. I mean,
well, I tell people now, like just for the gravity, like to understand the gravity of depression, I beat cancer twice, and depression was what nearly took me out.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Like, a lot of people think like mental illness is just because you can't see them, they're not that serious or whatever. But that just shows right there, like, it's stronger than cancer.
Yeah, that's true. And that does go back to kind of my thought that everybody is susceptible to suicidal tendencies. Like, it can happen at any time in your life. And I think also that mental illness is something that everybody is afflicted with at some point in their life to some extent. Whether depression is probably the biggest one that everybody goes through. And I really wish there was more of a highlight on this, because I think it goes deeper than people think. And I think it should be discussed.
Yeah.
And talked about a lot.
Yeah. And there's just so many layers to it. Like, I don't know, like almost 10 years ago, I had an aunt that suffered a stroke. And shortly after, she shot herself. And that's like, she was in her 60s, I think. So obviously not as young as Jeff was, but not old by any means, not in this day and age, like.
No, 80 is like the time you start to fall apart nowadays.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't see her after the stroke, so I don't know to what extent, like, what kind of damage was done, because every stroke is like, there's no two strokes alike, basically.
That's true.
But she felt like she was a burden, and I don't know, I kind of think like if she didn't want to suffer, and she didn't want her family to suffer on her account, I guess she kind of has that right to make that call,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that people should have the right to decide, because it's their body, it's their life, and if you own your life, you have the right to end it. But at the same time, if you're a friend of somebody, it's your duty to preserve that life, because people are impulsive.
Yeah.
The things that seem like a big deal right now. I mean, I still remember very, very clearly. I think there was a 13-year-old girl who killed herself, and her friends were making fun of her and stuff, and she was a cheerleader, but like, I don't know, there were some things that she didn't feel good about herself, and there were a bunch of people mocking her or whatever, and she killed herself. And I thought, when I read that article, I cried like a lot. I was like,
Yeah.
that should never happen. Somebody that young should never get to that point, something that dark and that low.
Yeah, and the real kicker is that we don't ever talk about it, because
No.
if people felt like they could comfortably come to somebody close to them and say, I'm considering ending my life, and have like a conversation about it, coupled with, you know, giving people the right to choose to end their life under, you know, extenuating circumstances, of course, you know, like illness or whatever, things like that. But if those two things were like a thing, you know, if it wasn't stigmatized and it was legal to get assisted suicide for certain situations, you could have a total avoidance of family members walking in to a room and finding their loved one in a complete mess, dead, with no warning.
Yeah.
You could have a conversation as a family. You may not agree with it. You may not want it to happen, but you can prepare for it. And you don't have to see it happen or the aftermath. Like,
Yeah.
on so many levels, it would be far less damaging to the people who survive that situation.
Sure. And I think it's something that should be talked about. Wow. Sorry. It's kind of a big topic.
Yeah.
But I think people have this impression that, well, if you just don't talk about it, if you kind of just push it down, that it'll just go away. Out of sight, out of mind, you know, oh, it's just a phase or something like that. But no, there are people who really are depressed. And there are people who take things that to other individuals would seem like nothing, and they take it and turn it into something really big. And I think a lot of people, the people who don't want to kill themselves, or are maybe thinking about it, they're the ones who are more inclined to give a few clues, and I think they're just dismissed. Like, oh yeah, you're just joking, or you know, you'll get over it, or something like that. Well, I think.
And what's that solving? All that does is make them feel worse.
Well, yeah, if you're dismissed, like you're saying you're going to end your life over whatever it is, and someone's like, whatever that, yeah,
Okay, let's get some frozen yogurt.
yeah. And I think we need to take it more seriously, because it's there's a lot of people that would fight tooth and nail to keep themselves alive, yet there's another group of people who would willingly end their life, and I think that's a really interesting dichotomy that definitely deserves more discussion.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe there are attention seekers, but quite frankly, who gives a shit? Just give them some attention. What skin off your ass is it? Like,
Yeah.
They're clearly actually depressed. And if they're doing something to get attention, it's because, you know, their needs aren't being met. And, you know, as a good friend, maybe you should, you know, give it a little attention and talk about it. And
Sure.
you know, entertain the situation, as emotionally draining as it can be. You know, I understand that. Like, there's whole other philosophies around that, but you certainly shouldn't ignore it or just pretend it's going to go away.
No, because I mean, the thing is, okay, in a large proportion of those situations, people sort their own stuff out and they come out still alive.
Yeah.
But because there is still a chance that somebody's going to actually kill themselves, Well, I think it's worth it to engage them and have a conversation. Like, don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
You know, for even if they're not going to kill themselves, don't dismiss it on the grounds that they're depressed and there's something going on that needs to be talked about. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you're not averting a suicide, but this person is getting to that point, and I think they've crossed a threshold where it deserves a lot more attention than just like, oh, I'm hungry or I feel a little sad or something.
Yeah.
It's a little more serious than that.
Yeah. And, I think you touched on a good point a few minutes ago about bullying, because the week that I spent in the mental hospital was eye-opening. Like,
Huh.
I cannot tell you how many LGBT people were in there, transgendered people, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Scars all up and down wrists and legs, just lashing out. They couldn't handle it. They had so much pressure from the outside world to be someone that they're not. Like,
Yeah, and I've heard that particular group of people is very prone to suicide.
I
And it makes
believe
me,
it, because they've made up a huge chunk of the population there.
yeah, and it really makes me sad because it just a little bit of acceptance is all that's needed there.
Yeah,
And we should probably make that a topic of conversation, actually, because
absolutely.
that's it. Yeah, it deserves it.
Yeah, and this, mind you, this is the Seattle area, which is very LGBT friendly. There's
Oh,
still a lot of people in there, um, with various um, inclinations in that spectrum that were there as a direct result of their sexuality.
and that's completely terrible. Like, I can only imagine what happens in other areas that are not so open. And
Yeah.
wow, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it inspired me to write a song, like,
Mhm.
about, like, admitting into a hospital to get help and just like being completely frightened out of your wits. Like I've been through some scary stuff, and that was a really humbling and frightening experience. Like,
That should.
and I don't want that to deter, yeah, I don't want that to deter anyone from seeking help at a hospital. But
Absolutely, yeah, because different people's experiences are going to be different.
yeah, but I think
Uh,
you should know, like, even when you self-admit, you can't just check out whenever you want. That would be
yeah,
your assumption. Or at least it was my assumption. I was like, well, I probably just need a couple of days, but no, once you're in there, you're kind of locked in until the doctors approve you to leave.
yeah.
And that was a stressful situation too, because, like, I might lose my job, and, I don't know when I'll get out of here. And
It's almost like jail.
yeah, and I think there needs to be a little reform in how we're handling that. Like, this country doesn't handle mental health
No,
at all.
I was actually gonna say that is yet another topic we have to talk about is
Seriously, yeah.
and those institutions, because while I think some of those have done a lot of good, I think there's a lot of very, very bad things that happen in mental institutions, and it's tragic because the whole point is to help people.
Yeah.
But we we're starting to kind of go in a different direction there. But I promise we will talk about this because
Yeah.
it deserves it. Like, personally, I feel very strongly about this particular subject, so it will definitely happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that,
So
that might be a good marker to leave it at, because I think a lot of people will probably want to chime in on this, especially like their thoughts on how we handle mental health. And
that and if you're somebody who's experienced a suicide from friends and family, or maybe you're somebody who's thinking about it, like we'd love to talk. You know, it's a big deal. It is the ultimate deal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we actually had somebody on one of our threads talking about it was the prostitution episode. They said if prostitution was illegal, I would just kill myself, and started to sound like he really meant it. And I was like, hang on, I don't agree with you, but if you need to talk, you can talk to anyone, even me. Like,
yeah,
and I'll listen. And I think that's something that everyone should know. Like, people out there will be willing to listen. Maybe not everybody, but there will be somebody.
There are always people, and there are people who care. So ask questions and definitely seek out assistance. You know, if you don't know anybody, call that hotline, because those people want to help, and they want to listen. And I think that's really important. So, yeah, man. I
guess that's probably about all the time we've got.
I
absolutely leave those questions and comments on this one. Try to keep them nice, because there might be some people facing some tough stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, it's a sensitive subject, but
an important one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess enjoy the music on the way out. You can find your way over to Patreon on our page, and you can get the music.
Yep. And thanks for deep sink diving with us. Have a great day.
Jesus, loud and some thoughts. What's inside your brain? It steals rocks. Just the day I met you knew that the love you felt inside was true. This loud, it's good in silence.